know if you guys could see that, but that was the garbage truck we worked on in the last video. I haven't gotten any phone calls, so it must still be working. Anyway, I got another project for us. This is a 2014 Ford Edge, and it comes with a list. Well, it's got a couple small problems. There's an Evap leak. I believe this is a capless system, so we're probably looking at something in the fuel filler neck. They want me to program a key for it. This has the smart key. Part of the tail light is out, I guess. It needs a tie rod end, and the big job is it's leaking transmission fluid from the bell housing. I suspect it's got a bad torque converter seal. We're going to get into that. It's like over a 10-hour job to pull the transmission out of this car. This has the biggest engine, the 3.7 liter. It's the sport package. It's got the biggest wheels, the biggest everything, every option you could think of. But what's crazy is that this car only has 53,000 miles on it. So I don't know why it has all these problems. Doesn't really matter. Let's get to it. Pretty clean down here. Here's our big problem. It's leaking, I believe, transmission fluid right out of the bell housing. It's got the red, definite red color to it. It's kind of hard to tell with this LV Mercon. It doesn't really look that red. Anyway, it's not engine oil, that's for sure. And I looked around at TSBs. I didn't see anything about the converter seal leaking. There's a TSB about the half shaft seal. I guess that was a problem on these cars. But this one doesn't seem to have that problem. It is four-wheel drive. It is the big engine, so it's going to be a job getting the transmission out. And this is the ball joint there, the tie rod end that's bad here. That's not the worst I've ever seen, but it needs to be replaced. Alright folks, if I'm being honest, I don't actually know where the fluid leak is coming from. It's dripping off the bell housing here, and it looks very much like it could be a converter seal, but this car is all-wheel drive and it has this PTU, power transfer unit. It's basically a transfer case, and it has a seal between that PTU and the transmission. What I think we're going to do, we'll proceed like we're going to be removing the PTU, because I think it has to come out anyway to remove the transmission. So we'll pull that guy out of there and then kind of evaluate. If that's not the problem, we'll keep going, but I think we're going to start there. Wow, look at that. Yeah, we're going to have to pop the sway bar link off. Yeah. If any of you out there are aspiring YouTubers, here's a helpful hint. If you want to record something, you have to hit the record button. But I did, miraculously, with the aid of some vice grips, get that sway bar link loose. Should be in business. Well, believe it or not, I got 3 out of 4 without a fight. Beautiful. Yeah, that seems like 4. Why use 4 when you could use 5 bolts? Well, if there's a definitive answer here, it's beyond my powers of perception. The seal looks good. I just don't see a smoking gun here on the PTU. It's pretty much the same story underneath the car. Well, that's where the seal would normally be. And I don't know, you see that oil stain up there on the top? guess that's where the back of the engine bolts up. Must be a dowel pin there. Kind of makes me think that it is the converter seal. I don't know, it's so hard to say because, you know, the wind blowing underneath the car is just gonna push that oil everywhere. I'm thinking maybe what we should do is drop it down and take the starter out and see if we can sneak in behind the pressure plate and get a look, maybe with a borescope. Because yeah, I'm not seeing what I thought we would see. All right, folks, sorry for the amateur photography here. I pulled the starter, got the borescope jammed down in behind the torque converter. It's looking pretty moist to me. I don't know where we're at exactly, but it's got to be pretty close to the bottom corner. So I think that's good enough evidence to pull the transmission. Let's continue as we originally intended. Well, the subframe's out. Went pretty good until the last 4 feet. These Fords take a special tool for the transmission cooler lines. Looks kind of like a fuel line disconnect, but it has a thinner shoulder. Don't ask me why. It's just how they do it. I'll try to put a link in the description or somewhere to all the special tools. This one's made by Lyle. It's just a cheesy plastic tool, but I've had it for years and never had any problems with it. Sometimes with these Fords though, they get rusted, shocker, in our climate, and you gotta get kind of physical with them. All right, we're getting pretty close. I've removed the battery tray, airbox, starter, wiring, cooler lines, upper bell housing bolts, flex plate bolts, and I think we're ready to remove this mount, and then we should be able to go down below, remove the rest of the bell housing bolts, and then drop the transmission. The problem is we've got to support the engine. I was going to use the support bar here, but there is literally nothing to attach that thing to on this engine. The service manual tells you to bolt on some crazy factory brackets here, and you got to remove the upper intake manifold and attach a bracket on the other side. So that's ridiculous. I think what we'll do, we'll pick it up and we'll support it from the bottom with a jack stand, the engine I mean, and then I'll come up on a ladder and remove that mount. Alright folks, it's actually the following morning. I did get the transmission out last night. It went about as well as it usually does for me. So typical problems in our area: the steel dowel pins get rusted into the aluminum bell housing. You got to fight with that. And then the torque converter, which I've already removed, it has a snout, and that got rusted into the end of the crankshaft. So I had to pull the transmission back until I could get to the torque converter with an air hammer, just rattle on it a little bit, and then I was able to pop that snout out of the crankshaft. The problem is it wouldn't go back onto the splines, so I ended up with the torque converter sticking out further than it should have. So I had to take a ratchet strap and pull the engine over to get enough room to drop the transmission down. So anyway, we got it, and it looks like we made the right call. I mean, obviously it leaked fluid out when I pulled the converter, but we've got red oil all over inside this bell housing. So yeah, I believe that was the problem. Well, this is the problem. So we're going to replace that converter seal, and then I talked to my transmission shop. I am not an automatic transmission guy. I work on them sometimes. This is about as far as I'd like to go with one. Anyway, he told me, you know, there's no way he would go to all this work to replace that seal and not replace the converter. So we're also going to replace the torque converter. He said you just never know. The snout, I don't know what you call it, the seal surface could be bad, or it could have a small crack in it. So that's what we're going to do. There are some defects in the casting of the transmission. I think that's just from how they cast it. It was in the tool. I don't believe the transmission itself is cracked. So we're going to check that carefully, but I think we're on the right track. Okay. There we go. There it is. Beautiful. 78th time's the charm. Well, this snout right here is what got jammed up in the crankshaft. They get rusty and then they don't want to separate. Well, we should be ready to install this transmission. I'm still waiting for the seal here for the PTU. Hopefully it'll be here this afternoon, but we can go ahead and get her installed. Now, if you read the Ford service information, first of all, it will not tell you how to remove and install the transmission. So don't get your hopes up there. You got to figure that out for yourself. What it will tell you is that you need to go out and buy about $600 worth of new nuts and bolts, because apparently on a newer Ford, every bolt is a one-time use fastener. So we're definitely going to do that, and yeah, we'll get started installing this transmission. I'm not sure how much of this I'll record because it's basically the reverse of removing it, but we'll try to hit the high points. Also, this transmission jack, it's on the short list. In fact, I'm going to order a new one today because every time I use it, it's got some new weebles and wobbles. It's getting pretty sketchy, so it's time for an upgrade. All right, we're in. Actually went in pretty easy. So I used a couple of long guide bolts here on the bottom, and then yeah, it really just slipped right in. Just be careful, don't force it. If you find that you have to pull it together with the bolts or something, you probably did something wrong. That's a new compression seal straight from the mothership. And I definitely don't see anything wrong with the old one, but they're pretty inexpensive, so we might as well replace it.
Now what?
Keep twisting.
I can't.
Lefty loosey there, lady. Keep going.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Alright, we got the subframe in. We decided to work harder instead of smarter, and just did it on the floor. Seemed to work pretty well, with a little bit of help from my lovely assistant. This is an interesting angle.
I don't think it's coming down any.
It's all the way down, you're good.
Oh. Well, tighten it back up.
Okay. Alright, dinner time?
Dinner time.
It hasn't rained in so long we forgot what it was like. Max remembered that he doesn't like it. Right, pup? For less than the cost of a cup of coffee, you could help this poor, defenseless animal. He only gets half a cheeseburger a day. So neglected. Alright guys, we're getting pretty close. On the exhaust, Ford uses these multi-layer steel gaskets. They're actually stainless steel. You can reuse these, they'll work just fine. If your flanges are rusty and crusty like mine were, hit them with the needle scaler and knock all the big chunks off. See them laying here on the floor. If you hit that with a wire wheel or even sandpaper, it basically does nothing. It just polishes that super hardened rust that always forms on exhaust flanges. Same thing with this one coming down off the catalytic converter. The converters are stainless, but this is just carbon steel, so this flange will rust. Got this new tie rod end. Looks like the right part. Oh, she's stiff, that's for sure. Believe that'll work. I was gonna get a Moog tie rod in, but all they had available was one of these 900Ws. So I figured we'll give it a shot, see how it holds up. Of course, the car's gonna need an alignment. We've had the cradle out, the steering rack loose, and replaced the tie rod in. So this whole front end is completely screwed up. All right guys, I think we are done on the bottom side. We're basically done for good. Just draining the last of the fluid out of the transmission. We're going to go ahead and replace that. The interval is, I believe, 30,000 miles, so it's past due if it hasn't been changed before. Alright guys, I think we're done. I put 6 quarts of ATF in the transmission. Let's start it up and see where we're at. I believe it holds 8.5 quarts, so we should be pretty close. I think we're going to try clear flood mode. I'm just going to hold the gas pedal all the way down. It shouldn't start. Gotta hold the brake too. Okay, one more time. How do I turn this off? Oh, too many buttons. There it is. works. Cool. Now the fluid level in the transmission, you got to check that with it running. So let's verify that real quick and we'll go for a drive. Looks good. Took about 7.5 quarts. Here we go. And yes, the seat belt is buckled. One time out of what, 190 videos or something, I drove a vehicle without my seatbelt on. All you could see was the little light on the instrument panel. Comment after comment after comment. So, fear not, dear viewers. We are as safe as we can possibly be. It seems to be fine. And I don't know about the alignment measurements, but just see to the pants, it seems pretty good. Steering wheel's pretty well lined up. That's good. I know when I went to the transmission shop to get that converter, I was asking him about that. They drop transmissions out every day, and they certainly don't have an alignment rack. And I asked him about alignments. He just kind of gave me a blank stare. Well, I don't know what other shops do, but yeah, it definitely needs to be checked. Anyway, I think we got it, which is great. Always makes me nervous to do a big job like this on a car that's actually, you know, nice. Some rusted out piece of junk that we normally work on, I wouldn't worry about it. You know, if we screw it up, we'll just drag it to the scrapyard like they should have done before they brought it to me. But you know, this car is actually pretty nice, and it would be a lot different scenario if we screwed it up. Well, folks, you know you're busy when your tools start coming up missing. It's easy to see why. Somehow that survived our test drive. Better lucky than good, huh? Well, so far everything's dry, but it's a pretty small leak, so I imagine we're not really going to know until we get some miles on it. But at least we know we didn't put something together wrong and have a major oil spill. Anyway, we've got to program a key for this car. It has the Ford Smart Key system. So if I understand this correctly, you can program up to 4 keys, but you have to program a minimum of 2 keys. And if you have the 2 keys, the 2 original keys that were programmed at the factory, and you want to add a 3rd or 4th key, you can do that yourself. The car can program the key itself. It's a simple procedure. The problem for these folks is that they lost one of the original keys, and now to program a 3rd or 4th key we have to use some kind of a tool. So we're trying out a new one. This is an Xtool X100 Pad 3. It is, I believe, primarily a key programmer, but it's also supposed to be a full range diagnostic scan tool. So I've never used it before. We're going to see what it's all about. Hopefully it can crack the Ford immobilizer system. I tried it with my Autel tool and it wouldn't touch it. Anyway, it comes with your standard cables here for OBD2 and whatnot. And then it also has an adapter with some little breakout boards here for EEPROM programming, which we probably will never do. And then it also has this guy here for programming certain keys, I believe mostly for European stuff, which again we probably will never use, but it has it if we need it. So Let's see if we can figure it out. Well, let's give it a shot. I've got the accessory power on, which you accomplish by hitting the start button without pushing the brake pedal. Got our scan tool hooked up to the OBD2 port. We're going to hit diagnose, and we're going to go to Ford. We're going to agree that we accept all risk for whatever we're doing here. We're going to go to North American Ford, Smart Key System, Edge, 2011 to 2014. And it failed to connect. Okay. Let's try it again. Well, it worked that time. Hope you guys can see this. We're going to go to Program Smart Keys. It says, insert the key into the card slot. The position is as follows. In the arm rests glove compartment. Check. Press yes to continue. Press no to return. Okay. In this Edge, it is going to be in the center console. I don't know if you guys can see or not. Probably not. But if you take all the junk out of the center console, there's a little pocket right down here that your key needs to slide into. There we go. And then we're going to press yes. And it's going to tell us to wait for 10 minutes. So we'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, approximately 10 minutes later, we have a message. It says, remove the smart key, press any key of remote, press OK to continue. Now here's the little slot for the key. Let's see if it does anything. Oh yeah, look at that. Program success. Whether to program next one, press yes to continue, press no to return. Let's go with no. Okay, I think that's it. Let's try starting the engine. Okay, this is our new key. I have moved the old key to the other end of the shop, so it should not be able to read that. Let's see if she'll start. Beautiful. That's awesome. It works. Let's see if the oh, come on. Let's see if the diagnostic part of this tool works. I don't know what kind of software it uses. That's correct. Okay, well, it's doing a scan. How does the PCM have no DTCs though? The check engine light is on. Well, that's interesting. I'm pretty confident there is a code in the PCM, but it didn't seem to read it. Right? Am I right about that? Let's see if oh boy. Yeah, there's no check engine light now. I hate it when they fix themselves. Alright folks, don't mind me. Apparently it's my first day. Of course there are no codes stored in the PCM because we just had the battery disconnected. Duh. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to use the Xtool here to turn on the vent valve. This thing is super fast. Hopefully you can hear it. There's off. There's on. So the system should be sealed. Let's hit the go button here on the leak tamer. Oh yeah, we got a big leak. So we're plumbed right into the purge line there. I don't hear it at the cap. Gave her a few seconds to pressurize the system, and now our flow gauge is down to 0. So we're good. Just make sure that the smoke machine is working, and it is. Turn that off. Yeah, so far the tool seems pretty fast, and I haven't found anything, at least on this car, that it can't do. So that's encouraging. One quick note on this Xtool, whatever it's called, pad 3. I've noticed if you plug it into the OBD2 port first and then try to turn the tool on, it won't turn on. You got to unplug the OBD2 port first. So maybe I'm missing something there. Uh-huh. Oh, look at you, Ford, with your primitive incandescent light bulb technology. Well, I don't have a 3157 bulb, but I do have a 4157. It should be the same thing functionally. It's just the longer life version, which is never a bad thing. Beautiful. Easy fix. While we're back here, let's see if we can find the emergency funnel. There it is. Alright, let's go violate the fuel filler. Now these capless fuel fillers are kind of a pain in the butt. Have a lot of problems in our area. So usually what you got to do, grab some kind of juice. I'm using WD-40. Spray down the O-rings inside there. And just give her a bit of the in and out with the emergency funnel. And if you keep having problems with them, all you can do is replace the filler neck. Ford's had like a dozen different revisions on this. And I'm not up on it enough to know if they've really solved the problem, but yeah, it's a pain. But what happens is it doesn't seal tight enough, then you get evap leaks, and then pretty soon your check engine light's on and it's all mad at you. Now the regular caps have problems in our area too. Like I've seen, especially on Chryslers, like the Town and Country minivans, the filler neck will get corroded and then the cap won't seal. And I think they're plated, like galvanized or something, and once it rusts through that stuff, you can clean them up and they're just going to rust again right away. So same deal with those. You keep having problems, you just have to replace the filler neck. I think we'll ship it, and if it keeps having problems, we will recommend replacing the fuel filler neck. Alright guys, it works. I don't know what else to say. Now he will have to have the actual key cut, but this is a pretty simple key. Should be able to take it to the local hardware store and have it duplicated off of the other key fob. As far as the tool goes, this little Xtool seems like a winner. The programming side of it is super easy. It worked the first time, which is amazing because I've never programmed a key quite like this before. The diagnostic side of it also seems pretty capable. It has live data and bidirectional controls. It auto ID'd this Ford no problem. So yeah, we're gonna play around with it a little more. I'm curious to see what exactly it can do, but so far I'm pretty impressed. I don't know about you guys, I get a lot of requests to program keys. I think most people are kind of like me, they'd rather eat their own hand than go to the dealership. So for my shop, I think this is going to be a good thing to have. All right, folks, again, sorry about the traffic noise. It's 4 o'clock on a Friday. It's not going to stop. Anyway, I think we're done with the little Ford Edge. I believe we knocked out everything on the list. We did the torque converter and seal, the tie rod end, the tail light, programmed a key, and fixed the Evap leak. Well, fixed the Evap leak. Yeah, I was going to split this up into multiple parts, but really besides the torque converter, the other stuff on the list was pretty minor, so I think we'll jam it into one long video and kind of see how it turns out. As far as the transmission goes, it's not that bad of a job. At least it's not that bad of a job here in the shop, you know, with the lift and all the right tools and a torch and all that stuff. Plus, this car is not that old and not that rusty. If it was older and rustier and you're laying on your back in the gravel driveway, it would not be a fun job. So if you're in that situation, maybe hand it off to somebody else. I did change the oil in the transfer case, the PTU. It has its own oil. It's a 75-140 gear lube. And this is all the oil that's in that transfer case. It's just shy of 400 milliliters. And Ford has a lot of problems with that thing, and they said originally that was a lifetime fill. It didn't have to be serviced. But they have since changed that, and now they recommend servicing it when you service the transmission, which is every 30,000 miles. So we did that. We should be good to go. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. All right, folks. Got a quick announcement for the 1 or 2 people who might still be watching. We did the meet and greet in Louisville. I think it went pretty well. Thanks to everybody who came out for that. It was nice to meet you and kind of connect some faces with some names. I do have some footage. I'm not sure when or how you're going to see that, but I'm pretty sure there were like 2 cameras for every 1 person there, so it's not hard to find video from that event. Also, the snarky safety stickers are now back in stock. They should be available on our website, watchweswork.com. I made some subtle changes to a few of them, but these are basically the same. However, I have 4 new designs, which are now also available. That one is self-explanatory, I think, along with this one. And then the top one here, that is an inside joke here on the channel. Well, I'm actually killing 2 inside joke birds with 1 stone on this sticker. And then this one here is kind of an inside joke between the wife and I, but I thought it might be funny for you guys. So yeah, these will be available on the website as well. I bought more of them this time, so I got a little bit better deal. So maybe I can work out some kind of a package deal or something, get the price down a little bit. I believe we can ship 12 stickers in a regular envelope with just a stamp, so like 53 cents here in the US and like $1.30 something international. So yeah, thanks everybody who bought merchandise. You guys kind of blew us away. In fact, we're almost completely sold out of shirts, at least in the popular sizes. So yeah, we'll try to get some of those back in stock before Christmas, or in time for Christmas. Stand by on that. Thanks for watching.